morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good.
How you doing? Good. If you're joining us for the first time today, hello. I'm Jacqui Lewis, and we're so glad you're here with us on the edge of the rooftop. I'm in the second part of a three-part talk about my book, Fierce Love. Today I'm going to touch my book. Frank touched it yesterday. Bold Path to Ferocious Courage and Rule-Breaking Kindness that Can Heal the World. I wrote a book about 9 spiritual practices, daily practices, everyday practices that I think can help us to be fiercely loving to ourselves, to our posse, our people, our friends, and also to the world. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about that second piece about loving your posse. But just because, in case you missed it last night, let me just say that we started with a talk about loving ourselves, and that's just not easy, so I'm not going to act like it is easy. And we're not taught that, we're not encouraged to do that, we don't really know how to do that, but actually we're commanded to do that. All of us who say we follow Rabbi Jesus, all of us who say we are Buddhist or Jewish or Christian, almost all of us have been told to love our neighbors as ourselves. And in Greek, the word that connects those two clauses, neighbor and self, is the word os, and it's actually an equal sign. So you must love your neighbor in exactly the way you love yourself, and love God, and that makes a three-legged stool, and that's what I'm talking about. So think about it as honoring God when you love yourself. Like, a new way to honor God is to honor the imago Dei, the image of God in you, the piece of the divine that's in you, the divine spark that's in you. God created you. You're amazing. And the way you honor that fact is to just practice every day. Look in the mirror, floss your teeth, brush your teeth, and say, look at this wonderful creature that God made. I'm not perfect, but I'm right. We can do this. So, I was inspired just now by the amazing Bridget to bring us into the second piece by sharing something from the third chapter in the first section, which is about traveling lightly, Bridget. I think you knew that. And here's what I'm going to say as a transition. Even the unforgiven hurts, the bitter resentments, and the hard feelings that weigh us down have stories to tell us, have wisdom to offer. Our job is not to not feel resentment, anger, hatred, betrayal, but our job is to feel the feels, to own the feels, and ask ourselves, ask our body, ask our God, what does that feeling have to give me for tomorrow? How can I mine that feeling for my best, most amazing self? And sometimes we need help for that. Fierce love has the power to transform you. You might need a loving midwife, though, to help you give birth to a lighter you. It could be a friend, it could be a therapist, it could be a coach, it could be a clergy. The space of transformation might be in a house of worship, at a dinner table, it might be in a bar, or at a concert, or on the beach. Knowing you're carrying around extra burdens is the first step to letting them go. Becoming lighter, you can soar to a better self. There will likely be some tears and some laughter as you downsize your burdens. My therapist, I'll call him Doc, we had to end our sessions when I moved across country. But I found another therapist where I live now. Her name is Lynn, and she's a kind, brilliant, funny, loving big sister to me, as well as an emotional guide. She's a sprightly 80 with gently wrinkled alabaster skin and strawberry blonde graying hair. Once, when I was mourning the toughness of 2020, a year marked with political upheaval and racial violence, the isolation and death from a pandemic, raging environmental fires, and the fire that took my sanctuary, I was feeling very low, and frankly so weighed down with grief, I didn't know how to move forward. I kept throwing myself into work, running fast to do something, anything about the pain. But otherwise, Lynn said, wait. Wait right there. Stay where the pain is, where the suffering is, where the struggle is. Stay there. That's where it's going to come, the insight, the knowing, the wisdom. Right there, Jacqui. It's not there yet, but it's coming. And when it comes, I'll midwife it with you. It will come and we'll do it together. Just wait for it. It will come. I was hypnotized, breathless, actually, while she was talking, waiting with her, waiting on her. I leaned in to listen more. And then she said, we'll midwife it together. And it will come right out of your vagina. It's okay to laugh. The spell was broken and we both roared with laughter. That's anatomically correct. If you're giving birth, that's where it happens, right? But let me translate, Lynn, for those of us who've not had babies and for all of us who don't have vaginas. Right where you are, in the hurt and sorrow, that's where the insight is. That's where the answer is. That's where the wisdom is. The transformation is there. The rebirth is there. And you're not alone. Your friend, your lover, your family, your posse, your helpers, someone will midwife it with you. The healing will come. And you will emerge shaped in the merciful womb of the fiercest love. Mercy and womb have the same root in the Semitic languages. The pain of birth is excruciating, I've been told. But someone who loves you knows how to reach in and get you and hold on to you while you make it through. You'll emerge lighter, less encumbered, and ready for new stories transformed by old ones. And I'm part of your posse now, friends on the roof and friends in the live stream. One of your midwives. I'm here to help you love yourself unconditionally, speak truthfully, travel lightly. I want you to lay your burdens down by the riverside. Let go of the heaviness so you can give birth to the fierce love warrior that lives inside you. Ready? Set? Push. Yeah. When I think about fierce love, I got to tell you a story about the good Canadian. I was a 22-year-old, right out of college, broke girl, driving across country in the QEW with my then boyfriend type person on the way to a wedding in Kentucky. Driving on a beautiful September day, sunroof off, wind blowing in my afro, and listening to some Luther Vandross, I'm sure. We switched seats. It was my turn to drive. I'm behind the wheel when suddenly there's a big swoosh of air, and the car that we're in crosses over 3 lanes, spins around it as a 360 in the middle of the highway, bounces on the tires 3 times. When it lands finally on the tires and hail of glass and blood and gravel, we're okay. We walk away from this car accident. We go to the hospital in an ambulance, and I'll call him Mitch, is kept in a room overnight, and I'm not. I'm okay, except I'm not. I'm in shock. I'm traumatized. I ain't got no money. My car is totaled. I'm a hot mess. I make the phone calls to the 2 sets of parents, but I'm all alone in the lobby. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but, and these are the words in the book, I looked up and noticed a woman standing nearby. I don't know how long she'd been watching me, but I noticed her now. She was petite with light brown hair, cut short in a pixie. She had brown eyes and was wearing a lightweight black coat and black flat shoes. She had a kind face. I tried to pull myself together as she came close by. I can't remember her name. All these details, but I can't produce her name. She asked if I was okay, and just the way she said it opened up something in me. It was like permission to be honest, to take off my mask and my cape and show her my true self. I began to cry now. From way down in my soul, the crying came. My body hurt, my feelings were hurt. In between gulps of air, I spat out the story of our car accident and the terrible feeling of being alone. She was so present to me, listening so closely, making space for me and for my pain. When I finished speaking, she hugged me, and I remember thinking that I was ruining her coat with my tears. How can I help? She said. This was such a simple question, and so hard to answer. My mind was racing with logistics. I need to get to an insurance company. I need to get a car. I can't stay with Mitch tonight in the hospital room. I voiced my needs just really to get them out, not because I thought she could do anything. Why could she? Why would she? I was a stranger, not a Canadian, as it was safe to assume she was, but an African-American stranger in a strange land. I must have been a sight to behold, tall, skinny, wearing a large afro, likely with little pieces of glass in it, small cuts on my face, dirty jeans from sitting on the gravel of the road, blood on my denim jacket. There were other people in the hospital lobby, but no one else came to say anything to me. I'm not sure why she spoke to me, but she showed up for me, and she extended wild kindness. She offered for me to stay at her house overnight. I'm from Chicago. I wasn't staying at nobody's house overnight. But she suggested she would drive me to a hotel instead and come back for me in the morning. I could hear her talking, but I just couldn't believe it. Her wild generosity only grew from there. She took me to a drugstore where she bought me a toothbrush, some toothpaste, some aspirin. She took me to McDonald's and bought me a hamburger, fries, a vanilla shake. I remember all these details. She took me to a Quality Inn and paid the bill. She walked me to my room and waited for me to close the door and said through the doorway, "Be safe, Jacqui, it's going to be okay." We know that Rabbi Jesus tells the story of the Good Samaritan. He tells it to teach the rich young ruler what love is. But he also tells it to break the borders, to break the boundaries. What y'all think is in is what's out. The religious leaders walking by don't care for the stranger. The outsider, the mixed race Samaritan, the despised one, is the one Jesus stars in his story to say that this is what love looks like. This is what love looks like. Love crosses borders and boundaries. It makes new cultural rules. It cares for the stranger. Love turns strangers into friends. Fierce love is rule-breaking, border-crossing, ferocious, extravagant kindness that increases our tribe. And it's not just nice white Canadian women who know how to cross borders. Let me tell something to you. When I lived in Trenton, New Jersey, and was doing a bunch of community organizing with all kinds of folks, there had been a young woman named Jenny who was killed in one of those police shootings. Her boyfriend is stopped by the police, and in a hail of bullets, the 16-year-old girl is dead. Everybody turned out to work on police violence. Everyone turned out to work on justice. The Catholics, the Protestants, the Baptists, the Presbyterians, all of us turned out. The Muslims and the Jews turned out. The 5%ers turned out. Do you know what a 5%er is? The 5%er nation, I didn't know it until I moved to Trenton. The 5%er nation is an offshoot of the Nation of Islam, which is an offshoot of Islam. These 5%ers believe that they are God. And they have a strong sense of what the black community is, and they do not, forgive me, white people like white people. They're not feeling it at all. No, they're not. But yet, these 5%ers with names like God and Ra and the God who sees, these young black angry men, showed up all the time with all the Episcopalians and all the Catholics and all the Protestants who were mostly white to stand in and stand up for justice. And when this black woman, they don't believe women should preach, moved out of Trenton, those 5%ers came to my church, my multiracial church, with their beautiful women and their white hijabs, and they sat on the front row so they could offer me a blessing when I was leaving Trenton to go to New York. You don't have to be a white, nice Canadian lady to cross borders, to break the rules, to love the other, to make the other your tribe. When I was a little girl in church camp, the wild older, thank you, my love, the wild older kids packed drugs and paraphernalia in their suitcases to get jiggy with it on the beach. I was a little flat-chested 14-year-old. Me and my equally flat-chested friend Lisa sat on the beach and watched the kids as they were beginning to get wild. And then we tiptoed away and went back to our cabin so we could be on time and make curfew, because being good was really super important. And we got in the room and we sat on our bed, and Lisa's mother, who was our chaperone, came and put her hands on her hips and yelled at us, "What are you doing here? Dude, it's curfew. It's 5 to 11. We're on time. Where are your friends?" On the beach. Why are you here? Because curfew is at 11 o'clock. You should have stayed with them. You should have stayed with them and brought them back with you. What? We don't leave anyone behind, she said. Fierce love leaves no one behind. The Republicans, the anti-vaxxers, the kids with their pants falling off their butts and their dirty underwear showing, I understand that, but those guys with their Doc Martens on, the trans people, the people who hate the trans people, the Muslims, the ones who turned planes into missiles, the first responders, the ones running for office, the ones funding crazy movements, the ones in cages, the one living behind a wall, all of those people, though they might be weird, are also your people because they're God's people.